Om Shanti. Welcome to Interview with the Raj Yogi, looking at the essentials of Raj Yoga. And tonight, or in this session, we're going to explore what is meditation. So, as always, we'll start with a bit of a reflection. Simply the act of sitting here to engage in something we might call meditation, but to do it with the eyes open is to suggest something unique about this type of reflection. So often when we sit with the intention to meditate, we are pulled to close the eyes, to shut out what we feel is the influence of the outer world in order to have an experience of peace. But to sit here with the eyes open, still pursuing an experience of peace, suggests a very different approach, a very different journey. A meditation which isn't about shutting out the world, but something about enhancing my experience in the world. That the problem is not out there, but something is going to be transformed inside. And eventually that transformation is sustained as I move through the world. Om Shanti. So, welcome to Raj Yoga Essentials. So, as Judy had shared in the little reflection, the topic is, what is meditation? So, why not just close my eyes? Why should one bother opening our eyes? Why don't we just continue? I don't think that it's often a topic of conversation. So I think it could be a learning opportunity. Sometimes I compare it, because there's quite a few metaphors that hold or cross over to eating food. So when we start to feel we're getting heavy physically and we need to go on a diet, we need to lose weight, the bottom line is the solution is not to stop eating completely. That is not sustainable. What we want to do is perhaps change the quality of what we're eating, a different approach to the diet. And so I often feel this very similar to meditation,
this idea that I'm going to stop thinking, I'm going to shut out, remove myself from thinking altogether, stop all activity, I don't think is sustainable. So it's not this idea of I'm in a challenging situation and wait, I have to stop, I have to close my eyes, I have to. So rather, what we're going to look at is changing the quality of what we think, our approach to thinking, rather than stopping it. And hopefully that will transfer into day-to-day activity. I think that when we look at meditation and the bigger picture, there's such a strong feeling, and I know there is because I hear it when people say, I don't have time to meditate. There's a very strong feeling that there is my life, and there's something called meditation, and I need to take this separate time, and I need a certain space, and I'm going to shut out the world, and I'm going to, and they say, I'm going to meditate, and then I go back into it. There's such a clear feeling or attitude of separation. And that to me is really symbolized by closing the eyes. And so open eyes really symbolizes integration, a different way of life. I don't want to have meditation and then my life, but the idea that meditation will become a part of the way I live. And for that, I need my eyes open. So it's not just a practical thing, but it's symbolically indicating the intention of this meditation. And for Raj Yoga, meditation is a key tool in a practice of self-transformation. So I always compare it to these 4 stages of present, mindful, meditation, and then a transformative practice. And they build on each other, but it's part of that transformative practice. So it's going to a completely different objective, which isn't to escape or withdraw, but actually to completely transform my approach to life. So once I understand the objective, then actually there's a very keen interest. And I know that, for Brahma Baba, he didn't really use the word meditation anyways, but just really looked at the quality of that inner dialogue or introversion. And I love this word introversion in English anyways, because it means there's the 2 parts, intro, which means internal or within, and versions, the words we speak. So what are the versions I'm speaking internally? What's the quality of that inner dialogue? How do I talk to myself? And hopefully that has nothing to do with eyes open or closed, but just in general, what is the quality of that inner dialogue?
So, what do you think would be a good way to start, I guess, for someone who is, as you do hear that many feel quite nervous about meditation? There's perhaps some big preconceived ideas of what that actually means.
It's really funny when it's all very foggy and gray when I first came. I try to remember, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think I came to meditate. I don't think I
I
came
didn't either.
looking for meditation. I had questions as to big picture questions. And so I found I was completely content. I think some are a little surprised at best and annoyed at worst, but I was very content that there were classes and there was talking. Some come and say, why is there so much lecture? This is a meditation. And so I actually think the starting point isn't necessarily sitting and just let me meditate, but I think I need to get, just like, again, the food. If I just, come and I say, I'm going to change my eating lifestyle, but I don't change the food in the cupboard. So the minute I go to eat, I'm going to go and draw the same food that's in the cupboard. So the first thing I need to do is get some new food in the cupboard. And for me, that's why I find it really valuable that we don't actually teach meditation at Raj Yoga Centers. What we do is we teach skills on changing your inner diet is what we do. Detached Observer is one, but the main thing is we give different food for thought. So we're going to, listening to different ideas and then making it really simple. Anytime, whether you're seated or driving or ironing or walking around, anytime that you are reflecting on these different ideas, you're doing it. You're doing this thing called meditation. Meditation technically is the translation or the definition we work on is reflecting on eternal truths. It's got nothing to do with sitting a certain way or music or lights or eyes open, closed, location, seated, walking around. It's just anytime I find myself reflecting on these spiritual ideas in a very meaningful way, I'm doing it. So I really liked that it started with providing me with some different food for thought, different food to put in the cupboards of my mind so that when the mind went to eat or to act, it had some different ideas to draw on.
Thank you. So, just a reminder if those who've joined you have any questions about the topic, you're more than welcome to enter into the chat box. We do have a screen right here. We're just watching as well. But I also wanted to share that certainly there's different practices out there, and meditation is used in other ones too. But as what Judy has shared, what is the intent specifically of Raja Yoga? Because my next question is chanting the same, at least in this kind, and why would there be this particular type of meditation as a tool?
There's a very popular word that has traditionally been associated when souls hear meditation, and that word is mantra. And that translates as to free the mind. And there's a couple of things that can happen with chanting a mantra. I can just sort of keep chanting it, just the words over and over. And because my mind, my whole being is engaged in that activity, my mind is not free to engage in other activities. So in other words, I'm distracting my mind. So as long as I'm chanting, my mind will not, is the concept of it. My mind will not. And if the feeling that the mantra has some powerful qualities to it, then that it might take me into a free state. But there's another saying I really like, the truth will set you free. And so what if I had my mind starting to, if you want to say chant, but repeat aspects of the truth, such as I am an eternal being, a soul. So again, I'm getting all the benefits traditionally associated with mantra, but what if I added another layer that every time, just like I know this sounds violent, but a hammer knocking a nail deeper and deeper into the wood to penetrate that wood. What if every time I said to myself, I am a soul, I wasn't just repeating it in a rote way, but this mantra was a little bit different. Every time I repeat it, I allowed myself to feel it, to experience it. Now it's completely changing this concept of a mantra. Yes, it's freeing my mind, but it's not because of distracting it or because of the melodic powers of the phrase itself. It's freeing my mind because I'm having a different experience of myself that is more free. So that's ideally what we hope to happen, is that especially when we get more information about what it means to say I am a soul. But I think the reason I'm bringing this up, I could just say, no, we don't chant mantras here, but because it really draws attention to the difference, the huge, huge difference, which is the secret of how this works, between repeating something to myself and remembering something. So I can repeat, I am a soul, I am a soul, I am a soul, and feel nothing. Absolutely nothing. And yes, for the time I'm repeating it, clearly I'm not able, but I can still sneak it. I'm a soul. Oh, I got to eat dinner. I'm a soul. Like that can still happen, but at least I'm having moments. Or I could say, I am a soul, and let my mind savor it, if you will, experience it. And it's almost as if every time I say it, it's different. Even though I, on the surface, seem to be saying I'm a soul, but because I'm now remembering it, remember means to belong to again, to connect to again, to experience again. Because I'm experiencing every time I say it, it's different. It feels different because I'm penetrating the words. They're moving from beyond words to an experience. And again, we're back to the food metaphor, that I could look at food and say, that looks really yummy, and walk away and get no benefit whatsoever other than a momentary thrill from looking at it. Or I could put the food in my mouth and swirl it around but never swallow, which I think is often what happens. Or I could put the food in my mouth and chew and chew and chew and then swallow. And if I'm lucky, begin to absorb it into my being, get the power from it. And that is what we're looking for. So it's not to make it complicated, to keep it simple, to stay with very simple thoughts. I am a soul. Do I get it? No, felt nothing. So to be really clear with the self, the difference between just saying something and actually becoming it, belonging to it, experiencing it, reconnecting with it. There's a massive difference between those two things. And so if we say repeating it, it's okay as long as it's closing that gap between those two experiences.
Now we're touching on a topic that was covered, or maybe not necessarily a topic, but we've mentioned about this in one of the earlier sessions about awareness versus thought, because this one really confuses individuals, and it's always a fascinating topic of conversation. In terms of what you're sharing, that I want these eternal truths, these aspects I want to reflect on with the intent of what it sounds like is a qualitative experience, but something I'm trying to hold. What is this? What is that difference? What happens when I have that qualitative experience? How is that related to whatever awareness means? Because that's a big word, I would say, for many. Don't really think too much about it, I guess, in our day to day life. Yet, is there a relationship between the intention of meditation in this particular study and my awareness?
So the biggest difference between the two is the benefit that I will experience from it. So once we say something becomes awareness, it's as if it becomes my reality. To have the thought means that I do recognize it is valuable. So I buy the product, I buy that food, and I keep it in the house. But again, I don't actually ever eat it, digest it, become it. So one is it becomes my reality when I say awareness. And the benefits I get from something when it's my reality is very different when I'm thinking about it, which is still useful, but I'm not getting the full benefit. And one way I think about it is I could be saying through my mouth, yes, I feel I'm a powerful soul, but every thought, word, action, my behavior is saying, no, I don't. So
I haven't really bought into it.
no, it hasn't become my reality. So I can think it and be very, what I think is important to recognize with thinking or thoughts do create feelings. I can think my way into all sorts of feeling states, and that can confuse me into thinking that I actually have become the embodiment of awareness because I'm feeling something. So right now I could tell you about cute little puppy dogs, and you'll start to feel something.
Yeah,
So
very
it's,
cute feelings.
yeah, very cute feelings. So thoughts will create feelings. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's become my reality. And it's, again, it requires such an honesty and awareness, if you will, but an honesty with the self to be clear about what I'm doing. When it becomes awareness, it's said that awareness is king, awareness is power. So now I'm getting these capacities unlocked because of awareness. And again, someone could, people could come up to you and keep repeating to you, you are an amazing soul, you're an amazing soul. And then you could start to repeat, I'm amazing soul, I'm amazing soul. But then if I look at, it's like we compare it to an iceberg actually on the surface. I'm going this way, I'm amazing soul, but all my behavior is still going, I'm not an amazing soul. Is indicating it hasn't become my reality. So this is obviously a different idea around mantra, where it's just repeating again, but I haven't accepted it in what we call the intellect. It's not my reality. Useful, and at least it's getting me in a position where I'm thinking about something that I want to experience rather than other things. But I have to check that it's penetrated that deeply.
So, how would one be able to tell if they're having an experience? Because, yes, we're talking about reality. Sometimes you might have to wait till after the fact. Okay, I think I'm experiencing something, and then next thing you know, something else seems to be a priority. So, like on the spot, is there anything that one can do in terms of knowing, is this an authentic experience? Like, am I really penetrating reality? Any thoughts?
I think there's definitely that sense of power and peace. And oddly enough, whenever we have a beautiful memorial where the spiritual headquarters are located in Mount Abu, it's called Dawala Temple. And it often comes into my mind. We started talking about open-eyed meditation at the beginning. The classic picture we have of someone who we think is deeply blissed out on being soul conscious looks a little like this.
And they're in a certain posture
So,
too.
yeah,
Mhm.
but when you look at Dawala Temple, they don't look anything like that. They're like, they're completely, whoa, this is amazing. Like it's as if they woke up rather than they're checked out. So that is always the experience for me when the pennies dropped, is it feels like I've plugged in or checked into something rather than checked out. And again, I have to develop a certain sensitivity inside of what that difference looks like for me. But it's like as if the alarm just went off. Like I'm literally, so we use the word, it's not perhaps I think it might be Old English or something, because things were translated originally by a soul who only knew Old English, but we use the word intoxicated. That when the penny has dropped, when these eternal truths have become my reality, it activates something that just wakes me up, and I feel so enthusiastic and energized and, yeah, intoxicated. The wonder of the self. Those kinds of feelings come that are going to be needed to override what one will encounter in this transformative practice. Now, again, I caution, because remember, thoughts can create feelings. So you say, okay, I'm feeling intoxication.
I'm feeling peace.
I'm
I'm blissed
feeling,
out.
yeah, but I have to check, is it because of going into that really empowering state? So to me, power is always a sign that I've actually gone. The penny has really dropped, and I haven't just thought myself into a really excited place, but there will always be power with it. This tremendous, if you will, detachment will come with it. So we kind of have to check, start to feel the sensitivity to these landmark experiences to see whether or not I'm hitting the target.
So, what is the relevance between realization and mm, this aspect of meditation that's used in Raja Yoga.
So, what I'm trying to do, I've got two aspects to myself, and just for the sake of simplicity, we'll call the mind is like a TV screen, and something called the intellect is like the part of me that's watching the TV screen. So, they want to work together. The intellect can experience, so it's that part that's going to have that be connected to awareness, realize, to see. Um, and so, what I want to do, so the reason I might be repeating is I want to have a coherent string of thoughts long enough. It's very difficult on a TV screen if you just flash the image and it's gone, right? I need the image to stay on that screen for a while. And sometimes it comes onto the screen of the mind, it's just not in focus. Like it's just not, I feel numb, I feel nothing, right? I'm not connecting to it. And so I really need to not just give up. I have to respect I'm a little rusty. It's been a long time since I've thought about these things, but I need to string together coherent thoughts, allowing the image to stay on the screen of the mind, which is why concentration is connected to meditation. I need it. I need to stabilize there long enough for the intellect to be able to track it, or to have a focus, or to see it properly, to experience it. And often we get impatient and we don't give ourselves the time to have that realization. So concentration is huge, being able to stabilize that image on the screen of the mind long enough for me to kind of figure out what's going on, to experience it or see it or get it or realize it.
Is that what you mean by intellect? Because some who are watching may not know what that means. It's a word that's used in Raj Yoga.
Right. So it's separate from intellectual, where we just get very clever in our thinking and then we're getting nowhere quickly. Arrogance is kind of driving our thinking rather than truth. And so intellect is different. It's not about clever gymnastics. It's really just trying to see. That's it. It's just trying to see, trying to experience. It's not trying to be clever. The simpler you can be, actually, the better. So I'm wanting my thoughts to actually be very surrendered. I don't want to be clever. I just want to take the things that I've been told, so I trust them, and that's a whole nother conversation. But to take them as I've been told, that, okay, I'm a soul, I'm an eternal being, I'm sitting on the throne of the forehead, I'm separate from this body, my true nature is peace, there's specific things. I don't want to be clever with them. I just want to be able to experience them. And the intellect can recognize, that's a main function, is to be able to recognize or remember. So I think of it as coming out of amnesia, that I'm just taking these pictures that the intellect can recognize, and I'm holding it there long enough for the intellect to come out of that amnesia and oh my gosh, I'm a soul. I'm a soul. I'm not this body. It's very simple, really. It doesn't have to be exotic. In fact, some of the most powerful yogis I think of now, I was remembering one today, were remarkably, what some might think boring in terms of their lectures, but I could tell that they got it because they were so powerful.
So, just backtracking a little bit, it sounds like I want to have a qualitative experience, a real experience. And what you find then, because maybe I'm not feeling something to begin with, that if my intention is everything every time I'm sitting down, and hopefully I don't give up on myself, that is my intention. I want to hold these thoughts with the intent that there's going to be something that resonates inside, that maybe one day that penny would drop, that one day that there's something like a realization that comes up. What has that been like for yourself through these years?
Yeah, just as you were leading up to the question, I was thinking about something we say in the study that the intellect has to actually be clean for this to work. So, one thing that I noticed in the beginning of my practice, again, it seems an odd approach to meditation, but I literally washed my brain. I exposed myself to whatever resources were available at that time. It's nowhere near what's available now, but there would be tape recordings of classes. There was books you could read. And that was my approach to meditation in terms of one day the pain will drop. I need to be cleaning things out. And traditionally, when we think of meditation spaces or temples, we always think they should be very, very clean and very sacred. And so that needs to be something that I do internally, is clear out the ordinary. And so just washing these eternal truths through really help to set, I think, me up for the penny to drop. And I think there has to be this deep feeling inside of, yeah, I recognize that this is the truth. I may not be feeling it, but if someone comes, do you think we are the soul or the body? And I just would have, I think we're souls. I may not be feeling it, but I believe that that is true. And that belief keeps pulling me forward until, and as I'm cleaning and cleaning, until eventually. So there's a lot of patience involved, but there has to be that, we could say, recognition or faith or belief that this is true. I mean, if you don't think you are a soul, then there's no point sitting, I'm a soul. It doesn't make any, you'll be fighting against yourself. So there has to, at least, I believe this is true. I believe I am a soul. I believe we are all souls and not bodies. And yeah, there's a lot of arguments I could give you of why I think we're souls and not bodies. There's a lot of problems thinking we're the body, and I could parade some of those in front if you want, but it's not for me to convince you. It's for you to decide for yourself which one is true. Once I'm on board, then it's simply a matter of time. If I can keep cleaning my intellect, washing those truths through, that will help me very much in setting my intellect up to accept what I believe is true.
What do you feel, especially if one feels kind of numb? Now, maybe they recognize, oh yeah, it is, but I just don't have that striking resonance that Judy is talking about. What does, and maybe I throw this word out there and souls don't know what that means, but what does in disinterest, how does that play a role in terms of actually having something resonate inside these thoughts I want to reflect on, chew on? What does disinterest, how does that play a role in this? And maybe you might want to share what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, I have been criticized, and sometimes in the course that from the very get-go, I like to give the lay of the land. That I think it's only fair. If you go to the doctor, it just happened the other day. I went to the doctor and I had to pick up the medication, and they shared, okay, so when you take this medication, it was meant to bring about one outcome. And they said, when you first start taking it, it's actually going to result in the exact opposite outcome. And that's going to happen. You need to know that's going to happen. Do not abort. Know that's going to happen. So when you come into this transformative practice, and this starts with a meditation, I'm trying to experience, I am a soul, these eternal truths, there's going to be massive resistance. And that, you'll say that resistance, many say, my life was fine until I started Raj Yoga. What is this, all the resistance? And what we're discovering is that the resistance was always there. It's just that I had been pulled so far into the resistance, I didn't experience it as resistance anymore. It's only when I fight against the resistance, which is mostly arrogance, that it fights back. So I need to, arrogance will come, the resistance force will come in a very loving and attractive way and say, oh, but I give you so many things. I make you feel good. So I need to have this disinterest in these attainments that the resistance force is dangling in front of me.
What does resistance look like then?
It
Everyone's
looks,
like, what does that look
and
What
it
does that
sounds
look like?
exciting, doesn't it? Think about your most epic Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and it sometimes looks so sweet. And you can't even recognize what sneaks up on you. Now this sounds frightening.
Now you're scaring everyone.
See, I've been told that I do that. The resistance comes in our thoughts in some pretty classic ways. Top of the list we already shared is I don't have time. Another one is doubt. Another one is I don't know what I'm doing. Another one is this is silly. Another one is am I crazy? So it comes in some classic ways. It's trying to it will create that numbness. It can even come in boredom, quite frankly. It will create that numbness and try to attract you back to its side. And so,
like giving up or something.
Exactly. And so I need to kind of, I know you use the word disinterest, but I actually think it is disinterest is implied, but a profound interest or love as well. That I'm really, that's why we talk about timing, that I'm really tired of, not having mastery over myself. I'm really tired of feeling like a beggar where I'm wandering through the day, begging for approval or working so hard for very small outcomes or these very subtle dynamics that I'm really tired of being sustained by arrogance, by ego. I'm really tired of that. That tiredness is disinterest. I just don't want to do it anymore. Been there, done that. I have a deep love to get that dignity back. And that kind of, they're the same thing, two sides of the same coin, that disinterest or deep love. That will go a very long way in dealing or addressing the resistance forces because they're trying to attract you with something that you have no taste for anymore. One thing they love to do is make you feel bad. And you are really doing well when you say, I am disinterested in feeling bad. I will admit I'm able to admit I made a mistake. I'm able to admit I just don't want to feel bad about myself anymore.
I think many are like, wow, I wonder what that feels
yeah,
like.
doesn't that sound great? To really have that, I have a deep love to experience true self-respect. I am tired of being so reactive, so that fatigue, that's that disinterest. I don't want to live that way anymore. I don't want that kind of relationship with myself, which is almost antagonistic or, punitive. I don't want that kind of relation. I have no interest in that. Once those feelings start to rise, and also a deep love and a very beautiful relationship with myself. I think of meditation as actually reunion with the self, or religion, we call it reunion with the self. I want a very respectful relationship with myself. So there's that love and disinterest with, I don't want a disrespectful relationship with myself. So that will help a lot in, if I can keep that very vibrant in my heart, that will help a lot in moving me towards the experience, accepting the experience of being a soul.
Thank you. This is such a powerful topic, and
we're over time.
We are over time, but we
Sorry.
wanted to share. So these sessions happening on Thursdays are these core aspects of what Raja Yoga is about, and we encourage souls to join for the experience sessions that happen on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6:45 to 7:30. It also happens in Hindi on Thursdays at 6 o'clock to 7. But the point is that I want to hear about these things, chew these things, but I want to experience it. And
Mm-hmm.
those are beautiful opportunities because a part of it is reflection of certain important things, but also being guided into that experience and always for the point of self realization. And then the Tuesday interview format sessions, a bit broader topic, but not detracting from Raj Yoga, is actually what am I actually doing? Am I actually experiencing these things, or am I just sort of filling in the blanks with things that I have probably experienced before and not really getting to this point of going into reality? So I know we're over time and we'll
Mm.
move into a little reflection here.
Mm-hmm. So thank you to Nora for excellent questions. Something that's very beautiful, refreshing, really a relief when I sit quietly is that this racing around that has become a way of life, I get to stop internally, stop running, stop racing, mostly from the self. I sit down and decide I'm going to face myself. And the image might try to get in the way. Thoughts of different tasks I need to do, or responsibilities, unresolved issues, all those thoughts of day to day life, very temporary, things that are coming and going, while I'm trying to have an eternal sense of self, almost as if my image, this false sense of self I have been living off of, doesn't want that to happen. And I understand. But in my heart, there's such a deep pull to get myself back, to return to the dignity of the self, that I am not so much a slave of life, but a master. I want to know who I am. If there is that deep feeling in my heart, I will figure it out. I will be able to connect in a meaningful way with this eternal sense of self, that I am a soul, that I am not all of these temporary aspects of my day to day life. They're a part I play, but there is so much more to me. This wonderful journey of a reunion with the self. I, this eternal being who has remarkable capacities, the wonder of getting to know the self again. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you for those who've joined us online. Please feel free to send us questions by email. If nothing comes up during the sessions, you're more than welcome to send questions or topics that you might find very helpful for your progress. But thank you as well, Judy. I mean, we throw you on the spot every time with some of these questions. So we really appreciate that as well. And we'll actually pass it on to you, Judy, to give any announcements. And I'm going to sneak over to the other side.
So I don't know when you'll be watching this. It will be recorded and uploaded, but whenever it is, perhaps you have the experience of time moving more and more quickly, and that feeling of wanting to value every moment and use it towards self-progress. So to that end, we have a very, I think, beautiful program this weekend that's offered once a month on the third Sunday of every month. So tomorrow, Saturday, we will again have inner fitness, and our topic is something. So it's 2 to 3 on Saturday on the Zoom platform, but on Sunday, it's going to be World Meditation Hour from 6:30 to 7:30. And even though we are online, it's still stability is the topic on Saturday for Inner Fitness on Zoom, 2 to 3 p.m. But Sunday, World Meditation Hour, 6:30 to 7:30. Even though we are online, I still feel there's that power of connecting, the support of other souls who are engaging in the same focus. And we'd like to dedicate this coming World Meditation Hour to the significance of Raksha Bandhan that happened earlier this month. It means bond of protection. And again, this idea that there will be resistance forces, really self-sabotage from within, trying to block me returning to a very pure and beautiful sense of self. So that's on one side, but we also have powerful sources, resources on the other side supporting my endeavor, not least as God. So this idea of really honoring a vow or promise to the self to, in essence, believe in the self as much as God believes in me. So that will be our focus for Raksha Bandhan inspired World Meditation Hour this Sunday. That will be on the YouTube channel, 6:30 to 7:30. Perhaps you'll be able to join. Om Shanti.